My regimental commander, Colonel Milton Hall, visited me at that point aboard the Monitor, and we discussed the situation. He saw that I had no other resources to put into the battle, and we still hadn't discovered what was in Anlock, nor had we cleared the banks of the river so that the Navy traffic could resume. After some consideration, he decided to give me, or attach to my battalion, a company from 1st Battalion, 3rd Marines, Bravo Company, commanded by First Lieutenant George Norris. Now, Norris was an experienced combat leader, a fine leader, and we had worked with this company before, and we knew each other's modus operandi. So I was able to coordinate the attachment and the utilization of Bravo Company over radio contact with Lieutenant Norris. They had been operating just south of the river, and they had an Amtrak platoon which was attached to them of 11 amphibian tractors. I ordered Norris, once he was attached, to board the tractors, cross the river, and clear out Anlock. And again, I must repeat, we did not know exactly what was in Anlock at that time, although we had a deep suspicion there was a large enemy force. So under the cover of lots of naval gunfire support and our own 4.2-inch mortars, plus fire from the Navy monitors and fire from Hotel Company that was located in Dongguan, Bravo Company crossed the river in an assault wave very similar to the assault waves that you may have seen in movies of World War II, the assaults on Peleliu and on other islands in the Pacific. Once they hit the shore and approached the village, they dismounted. Now, they rode on top of the amphibian tractors because there was danger of landmines and hitting unexploded ordnance throughout the area. And the fuel cells, which were gasoline, were on the lower deck or the bottom of these amphibian tractors. And if the troops were inside that amphibian tractor, they would be incinerated if the fuel cells exploded before they could escape. So we rode on top of the tractors. Once they approached the village of Anlock, they came under extremely heavy enemy fire from that hamlet. The fire was so heavy that Bravo Company could only move partway, about 1/3 of the way into Anlock, and then it stalled due to heavy casualties and heavy enemy pressure. Unfortunately, their company commander, First Lieutenant George Norris, was killed. And many of their leaders were either killed or wounded and medically evacuated. And they were unable to continue forward. At that point, I told the remainder of that company to form a tight perimeter, evacuate their wounded, get resupplied, and be prepared for further action. We had gotten permission to move Golf Company from its location in the northern part of our TOR into an area where they could support the attacks by Hotel and Foxtrot Company. However, as they began to withdraw by helicopter, they came under very heavy enemy supporting arms fire and were unable to bring the helicopters in after the first wave. So they had to wait until that night in order to move out of there without being detected, so that they could move into a position where they could be ferried into the area in which we were fighting. So we could not commit Golf Company on that first day. Instead, Golf Company moved out under the cover of darkness, and despite enemy ground probes and lots of enemy fire from mortars and artillery and rockets in the DMZ zone, Vargas managed to bring his company overland to the vicinity of Mai Kai Chan, our battalion command post, where he could be transported over to the Dai Do area to be committed to combat. And as the night drew on, my battalion was split up as follows. We had Bravo Company at Anlock, and under orders of darkness, we had Foxtrot Company moving from their exposed area into Dongguan, and Hotel Company previously located there. Golf Company was unable to join us. We had planned that they would join us by Navy small craft, LCM-8s, along with the 2 tanks, during the hours of darkness so that they could launch a pre-dawn assault on the village of Dai Do and hopefully catch the enemy off guard under the cover of darkness. But it didn't happen that way. We were unable to get them over to our area till fairly late in the morning, well after dawn. But before the arrival of Golf Company, a very unusual thing happened. As first light lifted over the battle area, we saw large numbers of enemy troops out in the open, moving in the area between Dongguan and Anlok, and also between Dai Do and Dongguan. We immediately took them under fire with small arms and with our supporting arms. And we caught a lot of them in the open. This was a very strange thing indeed. It was the only time that in 6 months that I'd ever seen large